The droids you are looking for, Canada. Tech Review.
Days ago, we got reports that Paz was still alive. She's being held for interrogation at a camp on the southern tip of Cuba. If she's still alive, we need her on our side. We'll send a chopper from across the Cuban border. The only catch is, you go in solo.
Fine. I like some alone time now and then.
Enter the compound from the south cliff. Secure Chico and Paz, then report back from the rendezvous point.
Chico, where is Paz?
She's dead.
Snake, what took you so long?
So if you're hearing this already, that means that I've already completed the Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes video game. Yeah, I got it yesterday. So if that doesn't tell you what it's like, then I don't know what will. Sorry if I sound a little weird. I kind of had a tooth pulled today. But welcome to the Droids you are looking for game review. Today I'm going to review. There's not really much to talk about. I can pretty much put it up on a pedestal for you if you want. But talk about Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Now, it was told, so that no one should be shocked, that this game was a prequel to Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. This was supposed to give you a little insight on what the game is going to be like. Luckily for me, I was able to obtain the last copy last night at Walmart with a price tag of $34.99. Now, when this came out at the beginning of the week, I guess the same comment that's been floating around the internet is it's a little steep for what comes with it. And I mean, I'm a diehard Metal Gear fan. I've played Metal Gear since the Nintendo days. I played every single one of them except for the PlayStation handhelds. Couldn't get into Acid, Metal Gear Acid. That just didn't sit well with me. And Peace Walker, as much as I keep trying, I just can't not hold the interest on that. So, but with this, it's kind of a continuation of the story from Peace Walker going into Ground Zeroes, then thus going into the Phantom Pain, where you essentially become the official big boss. Now, it has left open a lot of storylines for everyone to play with, because Metal Gear Solid 4 was praised to be the game to tie up every possible loose end that can ever exist. Well, sure, as David, as Solid Snake, sure. But you're not Solid Snake. You're Big Boss. That is completely different now. Well, you're referred to as Snake, but you are a big boss. Everyone knows that. And now you're played by Kiefer Sutherland, not David Hayter. When that came out, a lot of people were very upset about that. I was one of them. I mean, not a fan of change, I guess I would say. I felt changing over the character voice that's been iconic for the last decade and a half, to do so is very unintelligent, but Hideo has a way to do how he does things, and he seems to keep the audience enthralled into his video games. Metal Gear Solid 4 was not a video game. It was a cinematic. We played game time versus the actual cinematic, was very small. But that's not necessarily a huge thing. It's just that Hideo likes to boast on how well he can put his storyline together and how strong it could be. And playing this, definitely, I can see a very strong storyline coming through. And I think it's going to tie in all the loose ends, if you want to say that, leading up to the original Metal Gear that came out on the Nintendo. Now, getting used to Kiefer being Snake is one thing. Picking up the game, though, the control scheme is different, mainly because I'm playing on a PlayStation 4, but now encompasses in the touchpad for you to use the minimap. Also, you have the ability to do... Well, you had the ability before to do interrogations, but the control scheme was always floppy for that. You always had a hard time doing it. With this, same thing, but now you have to hold the L1 button. But if you already have your gun drawn and you're facing them, that causes issues. So you'll have to find a way around that. Best thing to do, honestly, is to ask the soldier to lay on the ground, then interrogate him. I guess you could do that. My first playthrough was very hard. I had a hard time adapting to the game, mainly because most games will give you like a crash tutorial on how to play the game again. This game did not. There was no crash tutorial at all. Most of the controls remained the same from Metal Gear Solid 4, but when they added in new elements, they should have did some type of crash course on it, and they didn't. And I found that for my first time playing through, be very confusing and a little bit frustrating, as I didn't die. I just got frustrated and restarted a few times just because it didn't make sense, or I felt like I could have done better. And then on my final playthrough, it was basically flawless. I was back to the caliber that I was in Metal Gear Solid 4, never being spotted, and even playing on normal difficulty, because I played on hard, but even on normal difficulty, I found that the trank gun has no potency whatsoever, and it was very annoying because I may not be hitting headshots all the time, but there was a lot of times I shot me like the neck or exposed areas where the vest wasn't, and it took like 4 or 5 trank darts to put them down. So that was kind of annoying as well, and I'm sure probably in the final product it'd be a lot better, but I think that there was a lot we could have really strived for. Now, the actual time and length of the game is not long at all. You can literally clear it in 30 minutes if you really want to. And that's the storyline portion of it. Now, there's Easter eggs. You got to go look for cassettes, and you need to find other weapons, and the map isn't too vast at all. And I felt like, for having a price tag of $34.99, they could at least made 2 chapters into this, and they made a very small chapter. In that chapter, you got to see Tara Strong, and you got to see some pretty disturbing removing intestines to pull a bomb out of a body scenario. But, no, spoiler. But I mean, I think paying almost over half, well, it's going to be more than that now because of the price hike, but paying about half for a video game to get a tenth on what the game could be, is a little bit of a ripoff. And I know why they did it, because they wanted to get the taste out there of what the control scheme is going to be like, what the storyline is going to be like. And obviously, the majestic the majestic detailing and graphics and sound and voice acting, I get it. But at the same time, though, I felt kind of ripped off. I felt like $34.99, this should be DLC. This is... In the DLC for Last of Us, it was $14.99. I had more hours out of playing than I did playing for the game from Metal Gear Solid 5. So, I really hope that when Phantom Pain comes out, that the storyline is going to be vast. I know it is, but I hope it's very playable. And it's not me just sitting going, ugh, Jesus Christ. Is this fucking FMV going to end in my lifetime? There's additional modes you can play with. That will give you a little bit more of a storyline background, like rescue an operative, find a cassette, interrogate someone, assassinate a couple of the Marines. I played through them. not overly impressed. I mean, it was just they just basically put that in there so you couldn't have a full complaint that you didn't get your full money's worth. You still didn't, because the maps are still the same. So nothing like that changed. So when it boils down to it, it's going to hurt me to say, I'm only going to give this game a 3 out of 5. And the main reason why I'm only giving it that is because the lack of content. Like, the replay value is there, of course, because I'm a diehard fan. But if I'm a nobody fan, it's like, oh, I'm going to give this Metal Gear a shot. You're not going to be happy at all, because the game is not what you wanted it to be. It doesn't need to be an epic fairy tale, but I mean, you could have still threw together 1 to 2 chapters. You could have introduced the whole Phantom Pain scenario, and they introduced you to characters that there's no background for. So you have no idea what's going on. The only thing you know is that there's a small cameo of Otacon's father. There's a small cameo of McDonald Miller, or father of McDonald Miller. That part I don't really know for sure. You have Tara Strong's character, who is in and out. You have a child, and you have the Skull character, the Nemesis. That, to me, could be Volgin from Metal Gear Solid 3, but I'm not 100% sure. But there's so much. They left it open for you to wonder, but at the same time, though, I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm willing to pay $70 to play this game if this is what they're going to pop out before that. But I'll leave that in your hands as the listener. Of course, I hope this gives you a little bit of insight. Pick it up if you can get it cheap, is what I will say. And let us know what you think of it, of course, on our Facebook page at droids.Canada.com. And enjoy your chimichanga.
Game over, man! It's game over!
Thanks for listening to the Droids You Are Looking For podcast. Stay tuned for next week's podcast.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.